HMCS Quebec was a Crown Colony class light cruiser of the Ceylon subclass, originally built as HMS Uganda, laid down in 1939, launched in 1941, and commissioned right at the start of 1943. Her life in this first form consisted at first of convoy escort operations, including being part of the guard force for one of Winston Churchill's journeys at speed to the United States of America, before she was reassigned to the Mediterranean in time for Operation Husky, the invasion of Sicily. In this guise, she would join other British ships and the Dutch Flores-class gunboats, providing gunfire support for the landing operations before repeating the trick at Salerno on the Italian mainland. Whilst she was providing direct support for troops under a German counterattack, she was hit by a Fritz X guided bomb, which punched straight through the ship and, luckily, over-penetrated, detonating underneath it, knocking out her engines and requiring a tow back to Malta, but not blowing her clean in two. With only one propeller working, she would then make her way across the Atlantic to the USA for major repairs. Whilst this was occurring, her aircraft facilities were removed in exchange for more electronics and additional crew quarters. Whilst this was done, Canada bought the ship, transferring her into the Royal Canadian Navy on the 21st of October 1944 as HMCS Uganda. Under this new ownership, she would then set sail for the Pacific, although going via the UK, where she picked up further modifications and arriving in Australia in March 1945, having gone the long way round. As the largest vessel then in Royal Canadian Naval Service, she was therefore the flagship of the Royal Canadian Navy and joined the British Pacific Fleet, where she would use her top-of-the-line radar and other systems to pick out and defend against Japanese air attacks, as well as getting in some shore bombardment duty during quieter periods. In April 1945, changes in policy as regards crew and where-when they would serve resulted in about two-thirds of the crew expressing the opinion that, well, they'd actually really signed up to fight Germany, and now they were melting in the tropics on the other side of the world, fighting an enemy they hadn't actually signed up to fight with, so they'd rather prefer to go back home, please. Nevertheless, she did stay on active duty until she was relieved. Following some issues with her boilers, the ship would then become a training vessel at the end of the war, before being put into reserve in 1947. In 1951, as Canada formed a task force to operate as part of the Commonwealth contingent sent off to the Korean War, the ship would be reactivated, modernised and renamed, now finally carrying the HMCS Quebec moniker. Instead of being sent over to the Korean War directly, she was used to replace the units sent over to Korea, operating alongside the carrier HMCS Magnificent in exercise main brace, before heading over for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, and then back again for a training cruise in the warmer waters of the Caribbean. She would shuttle back and forth across the Atlantic on a number of training crews, and during this period she would exercise alongside Royal Navy and other Royal Canadian Navy ships on a fairly regular basis, and meet up with the USS Samuel B. Roberts, the destroyer successor to the famous ship from the Battle of Samar, as well as contributing her band, which was apparently quite good, on a semi-regular basis, in aid of various ship naming and launching ceremonies in various Canadian dockyards. Once the Korean War was over, and the ships that she had replaced in the Atlantic returning to their active duty stations, HMCS Quebec would be placed in reserve in 1956 and sold for scrapping in 1960.
That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have a comment or suggestion for a ship to review, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to comment on the pinned post for dry dock questions.